Got the left side piece, 2 bolts, PL'd. Got the right piece with 2 bolts and PL. Gonna start on the rest of the framework now. Got the back piece of the framework in. Big glob of PL, 2 screws. Really ugly, but no one will see this when it's done. Tons of epoxy and PL. Same thing over here. Tons of PL in the corner and 2 screws to hold it down. Started on the side framework. I'll add something else in the middle down there, but this piece will run the length of the car all the way to the back of the trunk. Got it notched out to miss the trunk lid arm, and it should be nice and even, allowing me to put a piece of 3/4 inch as far over as I possibly can. Here's the other side. Gets pretty thin at one point due to this little bubble right here, but this will all get covered with PL. So hopefully it'll be strong enough. Got the right side thrown in with a couple screws and PL. Nothing in the middle yet. Tons of PL around the notch, securing it to the deadener, which I know isn't the greatest, and to the sheet metal, and all the way down. Got a lot up in there as best I could, and a lot more in this area. Here's the left side. Got a piece of aluminum from work and cut it down, put 2 screws in and PL'd it in place to give it some more strength. Gonna let that dry and throw it in. Got the left side in now. Put a support piece in the middle. Did the same thing on the other side. But yeah, pretty much the same thing. Here's that thin spot. Filled it all in on the bottom there. So once that dries, it'll be nice and strong. One solid piece. Also threw in 2 screws through the sheet metal here to hold it in place while it dries. I did the same thing on the other side. Left my phone at work, so I didn't get yesterday's progress recorded. But I threw this piece in here and added another huge glob of PL to connect it to the sheet metal. Added a support piece going down to the frame that's bolted to the sheet metal. And I just did this today. Added a piece from here to support the weak notch. Goes down. I used some PL 8X instead of the usual 3X or subfloor to secure that, so I know that'll be strong. Same thing on this side. This one came out a bit uglier, but it was closer to the sheet metal for some reason, so I'm not sure why. But another glob of PL in there. Same thing. Side brace. Piece going all the way down. Right up with 2 screws and tons of 8X PL. And all this has been done while the box is in the trunk. Been about 2 weeks since I've worked on this. Got the 4th order installed, temporary setup. Just added this piece here, just extending the height of the frame a little bit. Also added a piece down here to strengthen it. Did the same thing on this side. Just adding a little bit of extra strength and adding a little bit of extra height. The main section is starting to really come together now. I got the back on against the gas tank. 2 screws on each side, really rough, I know. Looks terrible, honestly. Since there is a gas tank right there, I decided against drilling holes and securing the wood to my pre-existing wood floor, and decided to use something else. Here I decided to push the back of it with my foot nice and tight, drop a screw down at an angle, then hammer it flat to drive it into position. Did it in 3 spots here, and it worked out really good. It started right there and it pushed it all the way back, probably a good 1/4 inch or more, all the way down, squeezing out as much internal volume as I possibly can. Removed the supports and added a permanent 45. Also, just like I extended the height of this side here, I did the same all the way back here on both sides. I'm starting to mock up something to go along the back that I can bolt the top to or screw it into, or something that'll ride nice and even to miss the tension bars for the trunk lid. It was too much guesswork trying to get this piece lined up with everything in the way, so I've decided I'm going to cut the back out there. I'm going to cut the rear deck out as much as I can. I already got the tension bars out. There they are. You got to be careful when cutting those out. They are under a lot of pressure and tension. Trunk lid probably weighs 3 times as much now. It's very heavy. I had to put a 2x4 as well as the other brace that normally is there. So yeah, I'm gonna cut the rest out now. Here's before. And here's after. Just have to relocate 2 grounds and some other little module that came off of there. But here it is. I got rid of the rear deck, but the rear deck got me back. Burned my hand up from the sound deadener I was cutting through. That rubber kind of liquefies a little bit and just gets you. Cut myself a little bit, but it'll be worth it in the end. I've got the first piece cut to size and mounted. I got 4 bolts going through the remaining sheet metal. I'm about to put the second piece in. I'm going to start building it out and then down, or maybe do this part next, I'm not sure. Got the second piece on, got a bolt there and a bolt there, tons of PL in the middle. Got 2 pieces of wood sandwiched together so that they dry the same height. And maybe in a day or so when it's cured, I'll throw some screws into it, or maybe just leave it as it is, who knows. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to add more pieces to it on this sheet metal here and have enough room so I can keep bolting it on, as well as the strong adhesive. I want to reinforce this rear deck as much as I can and make this box as strong as I possibly can. Got the third piece in like the rest with 2 bolts and some PL. And got the first front piece in. Making a notch here to avoid the wire for the fuel pump. Doing a test fit for the piece for the top of the gas tank. Got it notched out to miss that bubble there. I also got it beveled here to miss any PL that's sticking out. Got the corners notched and everything. 45 here, and the thing's not sitting flat. Oh, also got this part notched out to miss the wire for the fuel pump, so if it ever goes out, you just take the port out, remove a piece I'm going to put over top of this, a temporary piece, and you can unplug it, hopefully. Anyways, there's a space here now. It doesn't even sit flat. I'm going to try to figure that out and update you when I get it flat, or settle for something in the middle. Got the top of the gas tank in place. Had a really big gap there, so I had to fill it in. Some 8XPL. Got an entire 28-ounce tube and then some underneath, and hardly any of it squirted out, just a little bit right there. So it's all in there. Should have a good bond. Got about a tube and a quarter of the 28 ounces of the 3XPL underneath. In the gap, I've got 8XPL to hold it down, pieces of wood nudged in place to help hold it down. Got some screws just thrown in to the side so it doesn't pull up. And yeah, it's been about a day. It's looking pretty good now. It's nice and solid. Looking forward to getting the rest done now. Got the fourth piece of the rear deck installed. No bolts this time, but I did get a ton of PL. Had to notch it out so it didn't slope too much. I don't want to lose too much internal volume. Also, as you can see, extended the height a little bit. It was kind of crooked, but when I shoved the piece in there, it straightened it out, even on both sides, or as close as I'm going to get it. Got part of the back installed. About to install the side pieces. Such a funky shape that it didn't take me 1 try, 2 tries, 3 tries, but 4. Finally got it. Because it's taller here and has a slope down there, and it's shorter here and longer there, and it's really one of the hardest things to get through with this box, but both sides were pretty much the same. So happy this went as well as it did. Everything fits so nice. Most of the screws got a good bite as well. It is dense. Starting to really come together now. Got the top piece on. The gas tank is now framed out completely. It'll extend out just a little bit further, so I have to cut down a sliver of a 2x4 or 2x6 to fill that. And of course then I've got a gap here because I didn't cut that straight because I thought I'd just be putting 2x4s against it, but decided to add a little bit more internal volume that way. Got material here stapled on the sides and on the back of this piece so I can connect the 2 pieces together with resin and fiberglass mat. Got the material tacking up with some spray adhesive against the sound deadener. Got a piece going across the top here, notched back a bit to avoid this support piece here. Also got my material stretched, stapled in place. Gonna add some resin to it now. Got 2 layers of resin and 1 layer of mat so far. It's already pretty sturdy, but you can still depress it slightly. So I'm gonna go on from the inside and add some more. After about a week and a half of being stuck in my trunk, I got it all covered with about 5 layers of mat, tons of layers of resin. You can't make the resin layers too thick or they'll drip down. I mean, a lot drips down anyways. I used over a gallon of resin doing that. It's still really lumpy from the sound deadener and the spray foam that's underneath it. I should have thought of preparing the surface more before adding the resin, but you live and learn. All in all, I think it's pretty good, and I'm happy to be out of there. Started adding some fiberglass here to seal this off and make it more even. Also, remove this piece from right here because I just got my design in from Jester Designs, and that piece is not necessary. It's actually in the way. So, moving forward. Added foam to the sides and started to add it in the pillars. Also added this wood piece here to help keep the foam in and also to help seal up any holes or air gaps with tons of adhesive. Looks ugly, but when it's painted in the end, no one will ever know. Got the final back piece on the box. Also installed this little guy. Definitely a downgrade from the 4th order that was in there, but I don't really have room to get it in and out anymore, so that'll have to do until I get the box done. I'm gonna be throwing in a small 45, just cut a 2x4. I'm gonna be throwing it in there. Should do pretty good. Got another layer on the back, just high enough so I can flush mount the piece that goes over this gap here when it's in. Starting on putting some cardboard 45 so I can add some resin, because this kind of sticks out a little bit. It's kind of hard to see, but this will help it mate up nice and even. Same thing with this side here. Also gonna do it to the bottom because it's really uneven and chunky, but this will help make it nice and even. Air will have no issue going over that. Added some mat to the 45s. I've got to knock down these screws because I didn't take them out, and now they're really chunky and lumpy under there. Also added 45 for the baffle to sit on, and a middle brace. 3 windows. Looks rough, but it's inside the box, so it doesn't really matter that much. Added a round over to it, so it's nice and smooth. Yeah, it's coming together. Sealing up all the old screw holes with some mat and resin. Same thing on this side. This floor's been in here a little over a year, so you can imagine how many boxes have been in here and repositioned as many times as they've been. There's lots of screw holes, dents, cracks, everything in this floor. So this is just making it like a new piece of wood. Also added a little strip to the sides here of the window brace. Same thing with the back to help seal it off and make it as strong as possible. Removed my amps today, so I had a place to work. Put this piece in. Have it notched out to miss my grounding points in my chassis. Going to be moving my fuse blocks along the back there, and hopefully have room for an amp right here. Since I don't really have a trunk anymore and my spare tire is already in the cabin, I'm going to try to organize this into a way where I can have some storage space again. I've got the baffles almost ready to go in. Had one little spot chip on me, but that's not too bad. Have a little bit more sanding to do, then I'm going to throw that in. Starting on some roundovers here. Going to be adding some resin and fiberglass mat to it now. Got the baffles in. Pretty happy with how they turned out. Had some gaps, so I'll go around with some resin and mat, but this thing is very nice. Inside here I got the fuel pump cover on. Only the back part is permanent, as this part here, once you remove the screws, pops right out of place. Underneath the bag there is your fuel pump wire. Can unplug it and service the fuel pump if it ever goes out. Got this U-shaped trim piece covering up the 45 and the sides. A final piece will go over top of all of it to seal the box off. Got some wood filler covering up the screw holes and the Craig jig holes, making it look a bit nicer before I paint it. Also got all my bracing and my ports welded up. I've never seen anyone do metal ports before like this. I've seen people do sheet metal, but never a scheduled 40 pipe, so we'll see how it turns out. I apologize, it's been a couple weeks since I made an update video on this. I've had it playing for about 2 weeks now, maybe 3. Had some trouble mounting the subs. They were supposed to be inverted, but I ended up having to mount them normally and make this plate so they would fit. I made the box just a little too small for them. Not to be mounted inverted, but just to move them about and all that. It was quite a pain to get those in there. Sounds great though. I just added this little 45 along the back. And the ones you see here, they have to be temporary because they kind of block the mounting pad from coming out, and the sub has to come out with the pad. And it's all installed, all the bracing, everything. I've got the top on it now, sealing it off. It's a pretty tight fit. Some of my sound deadener, some of the butyl rubber's coming off the sound deadener here. So it's close. Gonna play something for you now. Here's how it looks from the inside of the box. I'm gonna play something I played in the last video of these when they were in their old box. So there's some kind of comparison between the two.
Double cup switcher full of purple, see me lean like always on that gold rush. You know I'm a fan, right?
Playing these with both doors open. It seems to like that the most, so it can breathe.
We gotta get it out the mud. Kicked up with my dogs. Run around with this one. Run around with this one. Clicked up with my dogs. Clicked up with my dogs. We gon' tie this thing.
All in all, I'm pretty happy with how the box turned out. I built it like a brick and it sounds really good. Sound quality on this, as opposed to the last box, is much higher. Much higher. Especially on rock and metal music. The bass guitar comes through so clear, and the kick drum, very crisp and nice. As far as the low frequencies, rap music and whatnot, sounds so much cleaner. You can't hear as many rattles inside the actual car itself. I'm very happy with it.